I'm here with Dr. Holston, and we're just going to ask him a couple questions about his hearing aids. When did you first realize that you needed to get a hearing aid, and what kind of made you think that you did?
I was first diagnosed with Meniere's syndrome, or Meniere's disease, back in about 1994. I was feeling this feeling of having swimmer's ear all the time, and was having difficulty sorting out different people's voices in a crowd at parties, or whatever, business meetings and things like that. So I saw an ear, nose, and throat guy who did a bunch of stuff, including, had me go to an audiologist for an audiogram and things like that. And I had an MRI, and they ruled out that I didn't have a tumor, but he said I had Meniere's, and there wasn't much they could do about it. And I tried taking niacin and some things like that for blood flow at first. Didn't do much good. Eventually, at that point, I had trouble hearing in a crowd, but my hearing was still pretty good. And this is my left ear we're talking about. Mm-hmm. I reached a point where my ability to hear, even in quieter places with that ear, progressed to the point that I thought I would probably need a hearing aid. And my brother, who is a professor of audiology at the University of South Alabama, and also runs the hearing clinic there, suggested that I look into getting a hearing aid. I was living on Long Island then and working for a newspaper there, Newsday, and I got my first hearing aid, which was an in-ear hearing aid for my left ear, in 2002.
How did you feel about your first hearing aid?
I'm, as a person who's been accused of being vain all his life, I did not have any, cosmetic or vanity issues about it. For one thing, it's not like I'm walking around with, some giant, growth on the side of my head. Mm-hmm. The in-ear ones are almost undetectable if you're not looking for them. So I didn't mind that, and I'm not being able to hear and understand in my line of work, journalism and that sort of thing was really, really important. So because I am experiencing gradual loss in my right side as well now, I have decided to, as Dr. Kaplan and another audiologists in private practice here in Athens have told me, you've only got one working ear now, so you better do what you can to preserve it and, if possible, improve it. So I went to see yesterday a specialist in Atlanta who is an otologist or a neurotologist, a noted person in his field. His name is Ronald Steenerson, and I was sent to him in hopes he can figure out some things to improve my right side before it gets worse.
Were you generally overall satisfied with your hearing aid and the process?
I think the science of this has really, really matured in the last decade or two, and it helps that like I say, I have a brother who's a a fairly prominent person in the field and who knows a lot about it, but they're not miracle devices. They help, but they can't really duplicate natural good hearing. It's something you have to learn to deal with. But as for the hearing aid itself, I've never had a problem with the comfort, physical comfort of it. I've never had any problem with being, quite honestly, it's a conversation piece. What's that in your ear? Well, it's something to talk about. It's an icebreaker, and I'm not embarrassed about it. I'm annoyed that I can't hear like I used to hear. Mm-hmm. But I'm doing okay with it, I think, and the hearing aids have been as long as they were properly calibrated and were right for the type of hearing loss I was experiencing, they've been useful to me. I certainly, you know, would recommend to anybody that has a hearing problem, you know, find a good audiologist, a good doctor, and look into it, because it's, you know, it's a crucial social skill, even a survival skill that you know, obviously need to make sure is as good as it can be at any particular time.